Vivien Wu of the 8.5 Women from Cannes. You're watching Euro Channel.
Been to Rio once before because we had a film called The Baby of Macron that opened the film festival. This rather strange vehicle called 100 Objects to Represent the World, it has been to various European places before, but it was curious for us to take it to a South American country who would have a maybe different perspective on it for all sorts of issues. Maybe the curious one was questions of blasphemy, bringing this product to a Roman Catholic country, after all, with a different southern associations from the southern hemisphere, from the positions of making something which I presume is certainly European and perhaps even Anglo-Saxon. So what I particularly got excited about was huge numbers of young people came to see it and seemed to be very, very enthusiastic about it. It's a multimedia work because it has projections and it has live action and it has music and it has tapes. And it has this strange proposition of seeing if it's possible to reinvent the world just by looking at 100 separate objects. A millennial project, of course, because everybody's making lists and compiling catalogues now.
Child has been taken from us too soon.
Had he lived, he would have blessed me.
And my children. And my children's children.
Future blessings have been denied us due to the greed of the church. This child was meant for us. He would not forsake us. We have been denied his music, been denied his presence.
Eight and a Half Women, it's also, again, a list, number 8.5. I remember you mentioned The Baby of Macron. I was fortunate to be there in Rio, and we talked by that time. And you said that the idea from The Baby of Macron came from a picture of a baby in a cover of a magazine.
I think it was Elle magazine.
Yes, and I'm thinking about 8.5. What was the first, I don't know if it always works like that for a film, let's say.
No, I think probably the ideas would come from lots and lots of sources. And maybe there's no single one idea that would be responsible, but again, a collection of ideas. Film, Fellini 8.5, of course, is very important. It's a film about male sexual fantasy, especially with the sequence of Mastroianni in the middle of the film. But it's also a very deeply autobiographical film about actually how do you make a film. It's a film about conceptual notions about where the ideas come from and how do you utilize them and how do you make them. How do you make the business of autobiographical information into a fit subject matter for public consumption. I wanted to make a film about sexuality at the end of the 1990s, heterosexuality, unlike Almodovar. And I was curious about creating a narrative structure whereby we could organize the possibility of a politically incorrect, privately owned bordello. with all the sensitivities and difficulties that was about. So Fellini 8.5 was a very, very useful way in which of setting that situation up.
Thinking of making a film about all this, our experiences.
Most films are about people longing for something that they haven't got, and what most people haven't got is sex and happiness.
Well, give me another subject.
Death?
See what I mean?
Oh, hell.
Tomato, Griselda, Beryl, Gioconda, Mio, Giulietta, Quito, Clothild, and Palmyra. 8.5 women.
Well, this is our 8.5 film. It took us 8.5 weeks to shoot. The trauma of 8.5 begins to invade the product. And I wanted to do things which were a bit different. So the 8th film is the filler book, full of new language. The 9th film, which is represented on this piece of paper, again will be full of masses of new language. So for this particular film, we wanted to take 1 or 2 stages back, to sit back a bit. For me, the 3 innovations are no music, or very little music, a lot of dialogue, masses of dialogue, and thirdly, I suppose, a much greater closeness of psychological insight, which we use with, very large close-ups this big.
I never go to the cinema.
A great escapist medium. 2 hours of forgetfulness.
How many film directors make films to satisfy their sexual fantasies? You never kiss Palmyra on the backside.
Oh, I'd like to.
I have a proposition.
What have you got that I've never seen before?
Those women.
Kiss me.
Every shape and size, every age.
We must make the earth shake and quake for you.
Then she says, how do you want to do it?
From the front or from behind?
Do you want to do it in the garden?
In the pool?
Or do you want me to sit with my heels in the air? Yes, I say.
Yes to what?
She says yes to everything I said.
And I will.
And she does, just like that. My God.
It's the earthquake season. I want to be shook up.
He is, you're right. He is a Renaissance man. Of that there is no possible shadow of doubt. I mean, because he does all these things. I could identify very easily with him because I paint. And I was going to be a painter. And I went to art school. And I'm an actor. And it's a very good script. And if you're an actor and you get a very good script and you get a great director, an extraordinary director, you just say, thank you, I'm yours. And that's it. And you know that the rest is whatever it is. But I mean, it was nothing but a joy to make this film. And he's very, very easy to work for. He's a very sympathetic man. He's lovely. So what can I say? And also I'd been to Japan doing a film 30 years ago with Cary Grant, and it was interesting to go back to Japan because it was a little tiny town like that. Well, Tokyo was very much on a level, and the highest building there was the Hilton Hotel. Now it's the Park Hyatt, which is something like 50 stories higher than the Hilton was then. So it was wonderful to go back to Japan and shoot some of it in Kiryu. But all the time, Peter's insouciance, his wit, his intelligence, sort of was overwhelming. It was wonderful. So you were with him all the time and going for him. I'll do anything for him, including take my clothes off.
He asked me, which role would I like to play? I said all of them. All of them. Anyone, all of them. In fact, just make Palmyra thinner and I'll play her. You know. And he did end up. Palmyra started out as a very fat woman in the script. I thought, oh, shoot. But it didn't matter which one because it was part of the fantasy, you see. That's the wonderful thing about fantasies. You can switch roles.
think he deliberately tried to do something different with this film, and that was make it more intimate and more accessible in some way. I don't think he wanted to make it more accessible necessarily, but he wanted the audience to have access to the relationship between the father and the son, which is why he used lots of close-up, which is a big departure for him. And there's lots of dialogue, which is a big departure for him. His films aren't usually about that. So I think he was trying to focus in on that, really.
Well, a meeting between Peter Greenaway and I was taking place in Hong Kong, and 4 years ago, before the shooting of Pillow Book, and it was arranged by Jean-Louis Pierre, who was one of the executive producers. Jean-Louis was he was very knowledgeable about Asian cinema and Asian actors, actresses, and I think he strongly recommended me to Peter, and Peter saw some of my work, and he felt that it's worth meeting me. So we met in Hong Kong, and we chatted over dinner, and we didn't hate each other, and a script was presented to me, and it was Pillow Book, and I read it, completely fell in love with the script and how he wrote. His scripts were just actually really like a piece of art already. And it just seemed to be an irresistible project. And it really turned out to be a great journey that I took with him. So was the 8.5 Women, which was a complete different subject matter. And he shot it in such a different way, and it was a great experience. So I have to say, I've been very lucky that I have taken 2 beautiful journeys with this gentleman.
There have been other films in the past, like The Belly of an Architect, which are much more autobiographical, I think. I suppose there might be 1 or 2 sort of autobiographical motifs. I mean, like, for example, the young man is fascinated by earthquakes. Every time I go to Japan, I seem to get involved in an earthquake. I mean, little things like that. I actually saw a man fall off a bicycle in an earthquake, and we have a character who falls off a bicycle in an earthquake in here. Little tiny things like that, but maybe nothing on a more larger scale.
I don't think I don't think it's as self-indulgent as that. I think he's talking about male sexual fantasy in general, I feel, or trying to make it universal in some way. I mean, the sexual stereotypes, if you like, he uses in the film. He's drawn from various kind of cultural references and historical references. So I think they're things that kind of maybe clue into the male psyche in some way. I don't know if they're necessarily everybody's cup of tea or whatever, but they're certainly things that you kind of can maybe understand. I think he was trying to do something more than just explore his own sexual fantasies in that respect. Then I think he was trying to do something that was had a bit more appeal.
Hello, Story, it's me.
Well, what are you doing in Geneva? You're supposed to be here tomorrow. Dad, are you still there? Do you want me to call you back?
It's your mother.
Oh, how is she? Put her on.
She's not well.
What's the matter?
She's very ill. In fact, she's so ill she's not moving anymore.
What are you talking about?
She's not breathing anymore. She's not living anymore. In fact, she's dead.
What?
I can't talk anymore just now.
Well, hey, wait, Dad.
When you've thought about it, Story, ring me in 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I won't go away.
prick, foot, and God. Benedictus, benedicat, benediction, Christian Dominum Nostrum, ad infinitum.
Previous films, The Pillow Book, was also set in Japan. The film is divided by Kyoto and Geneva. What does this fascination from Japan, where does that come from?
Well, for me it goes back a long way, because when I studied painting, when I was an art student, I think I was very interested in the way in which Japanese painting influenced Western art, people like Gauguin, Van Gogh, and Degas, and so on. But reading more and more into that sort of background, I became acquainted by translation in Japanese literature, discovered all those female authors of the year 1000, people like Seiya Shonagon, who was responsible for a lot of the ideas, of course, in The Pillow Book. My films are also very well received in Japan, and there's a human tendency to be interested in those people who are interested in you. And on the film Prospero's books, we did about 6 months post-production in Tokyo, and I got to know a lot of people, and it was suggested we might consider the possibility of making films there. So this long background, which takes maybe 20 years to organize, gradually became part of my fascination in things like pachinko parlors, sumo wrestling, all the things that the young man in the film are interested in. That's me.
Go away! Go away!
When we were filming The Pillow Book, it was very much still his own painting, his own frames and just different images, a lot of images. And we didn't spend a lot of time rehearsing or, discussing with other actors. I had a great pleasure to work with Ewan McGregor, and we had a good time. And so I think when I saw The Pillow Book, I think the love affair between Ewan McGregor and I was the most interesting part of the film, and I wished kind of it would have been even stronger in a sense, because I wanted to know more about the love affair between Ewan and my part. But as you said, it's very much like the image, all images, all paintings, all frames put together with this great lighting, Sasha's brilliant lighting. So versus when we did 8.5 Women, when I read the script, I already knew it was more about humanity in his opinion and in his own vision that he wanted to create of this 8.5 archetyped women, different types of women, that ultimately it's going to be a little bit more deeper and a little bit more inside of the actors. And before shooting of the 8.5 Women, we actually spent about 2 weeks just to rehearse. So we rehearsed And to me, it was a great treat to spend all these hours with him in the room and listening to him talking away. It was quite an experience, you know. I don't know if you were at the press conference. He's amazing. He never ceases to amuse me. He's very knowledgeable, and he is so willing to share his opinions, and very sharp opinions, and extreme ideas about art, about the world, about cinema. And he just has so much to offer, and it's so handful for me to sometimes digest. You know, whether or not I agreed or disagreed, it was quite exciting.
Oh, I think he's extraordinary. Yeah, I saw, well, one of my favorite films of all time is The Cook, the Thief. And so I was, when I read this script, every page was hilarious to me. I found it very, very funny, and my skin was excited to be reading it, and just imagining him directing it thrilled me. So I was in heaven. I was just in heaven to work with him.
I like directors who don't talk very much about it, and I don't talk very much about it. It's a very private thing. If you go along the lines that he's intending, he leaves you well alone. We talked a little about the character, but not very much. He's a great director. He thinks, I'll do this, I'll use this, and you don't know as an actor quite what... You're the pawn in the game, you know? And if he thinks the pawn is doing the right moves, he leaves the pawn well alone. So I got lucky, I think, and he must have thought that I was going vaguely in the direction that he wanted.
The first thing that appealed to me was I heard it was a Greenaway film, and I thought this would be fantastic, because I've always been a fan of his. I used to watch his films on TV. I've seen most of his films, I think. And I'd always been a fan, basically, and then I read the script, and the script was shocking, but challenging and interesting and funny, and made me laugh. I thought, yeah, this would be an incredibly risky thing to do, but what the hell, let's go for it, you know.
Why do you think Fellini kept inventing all these exciting women? Do you think he loved them all? Did he sleep with them all? Did he sleep with any of them? Or did he get Mastroianni to do it for him?
Dad, I have to go back to Kyoto.
Oh, stay another week. I need you here.
Well, why don't you come with me? Change of place would do you good.
I'll see. How many film directors make films to satisfy their sexual fantasies?
I would imagine most of them. If you don't come to Kyoto this week, come for your birthday.
Those women, all nationalities, every shape and size, every age.
He was just an old Italian pimp. We know how lecherous the Italians are supposed to be. But it's probably an undeserved reputation.
In this film, I thought maybe you were closer to the actors in a way. For instance, it's always this thing about your films that you can think, well, the camera is so... and in this film you can feel, maybe also because of the close-ups.
I think it's to do with the language, and I've come in much more. A lot of my movies are very much about, figures in a landscape, big urban spaces and so on. And though my heroes here would be Fellini, which tends to use those big open spaces, maybe some of the actual visual critique is more like Romer, we're right in time.
It's curious, Romer, because it's a different...
I mentioned that just as a term of reference.
No, because for instance, when I saw the film, of course, Fellini, it's always comes to my mind, but also René, which I know is a filmmaker that you...
For me, René is much more important than Fellini in the end, because of his structures, because of the way he really makes very intelligent cinema. In some ways, Fellini is a very orthodox and conventional filmmaker. Using narrative, chronology. He doesn't play with picture space. He's not particularly interested in the formalization or formalistic devices like I am. So René for me would be far more interesting.
I thought, for instance, maybe Marimba in the way that you filmed the castle, you know, because it reminded me even from the castle from
I think in
Marimba.
every single film I make, there is a little bit of Last Year in Marienbad. Sometimes I feel each film I make is my attempt to remake Last Year in Marienbad, which is a film I have an enormous admiration for.
I think you can say with safety that nowadays women have finally acknowledged their position of not liking men. We could say that women don't like men. They acknowledge that they prefer the company of their own kind. I think we can also say that most men don't like other men. Most men prefer to like women. So, women are the most liked by the most people. Men love women, women love children, and children love hamsters. It's a one-way slide. There's little going back the other way.
Which I think is curious is that the son leads the father to to the teaching of of the sexual diversity, let's say, and usually it's the opposite. Why is that?
Well, I think you know, out here in the world, it actually is the case of, you know, human relations now. At the end of the 1990s, young people, maybe because of AIDS and the necessity for good contraception, at least theoretically, if not practically, are extremely wise and sophisticated about sexual activities. Sexual activities, if you're not careful, now become matters of life and death, so you have to be very, very serious about them. And there's a way in which I suppose young people got a lot of money. They indulge, if it's possible, in safe sex in a way which certainly the father would never have been able to have done. He was probably a teenager in the 1940s. Sexual attitudes then would be very, very different. Opportunities for sexual congress now, in terms of the cinema and television, we learn our moral education from the cinema and the television, are very, very, very different than they would have been from the father's experience.
I'm thinking of making a film about all this, our experiences.
Why make a film when you can live it? Most films are about people longing for something that they haven't got, and what most people haven't got is sex and happiness. And we've got both.
Well, at least I have. See what I mean?
Oh, hell, who'll give you the money anyway?
You would.
What can you talk about your new project? About I just got the paper, so I read it, and I remember that you mentioned this project already in Brazil, that you're beginning to thinking about. How is it?
Well, we really need to start moving on it because I've been talking about it so long. My credibility is going to vanish unless we do something soon. We're supposed to be starting on the 1st of September. I have every optimism we shall do that. It's a project where I need more elbow room, more space. So we're going to make 4 feature films, each one 2 hours long. We're going to make maybe 3 or 4 back-to-back CD-ROMs. We're going to put the whole thing on the internet, and we're going to make a TV series. The canvas is very big. It's about the history of uranium in the 20th century. And it has many, many devices which maybe start off in one media and then are followed through in another media. I think we're looking for a big, serious work that embraces many of the media. And I'd like to see if we could make it, this is the one.
In Brazil, when we were there, you also you made a speech when you said that cinema was dead. Of course, you explained a lot why did you say that. But being here now with your new film, which is a little bit more, like you just said, some steps back to your in your process. What do you think of cinema now, and especially here in Cannes, which is the big marketplace?
Well, maybe I'm sort of naively and innocently still expect to be able to produce something with conventional cinema which will entertain. I suspect really this will be my last film, because I feel that this is not a film now. We're moving into somewhere else. And I feel that you know, the old notions of what I would call the Casablanca syndrome really are finished. There's a way in which I don't think it fulfills the human imagination anymore. It might have done for our fathers and our forefathers, but now the human imagination demands something else. It's all related really to the phenomenon of zap, choice, interactivity, ability to have an interface, to maneuver the movie in some way. And I think that young people would certainly ask and demand that. They need a different sort of experience than the Casablanca syndrome.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.